Chapter 7, Gathering on Rahab. The public square outside Sar's palace was nearing maximum capacity. Word concerning the mysterious quaking had quickly spread among the stones. Angelic beings had come from all over the stones of fire seeking enlightenment. Upon arrival, the angelics quickly noticed the palace's new position. Rumors of bizarre events taking place within the palace were quickly spreading through the crowds. Many were seen pointing at strange objects protruding through the transoms of the dome. Stories were being shared of other strange events that had taken place throughout Rahab. Rahab's amphitheater was one of those places that generated a peculiar story. The theater, located on the opposite side of Rahab, had been utterly destroyed. An eerie silence filled the cosmos as a result of the destruction. Or had created this area to fill the atmosphere with extolling music for his glory. Now there was no glorious sound from the Malak's instruments, only stories about their experiences. As they were performing, the quaking ground beneath them began to split apart. Chaos and disorder followed as unknown objects sprung through the cracks caused by a massive quaking. The previously stunning theater was now home to countless roots that had spiraled up, wrapping around everything in their paths. The gorgeous landscape was completely swallowed by the massive tentacle root system. For the first time, the renowned music of Rahab had been quenched. However, in the palace, Sar's muted composition began to play. Due to the ordeal, the familiar processions of the gathering were not being carried out. Instead, the massive crowd anxiously pushed their way inside the courtyard and filled the lower balconies along its perimeter. Others hovered in the skies awaiting Sar's appearance. The children were astonished at the hordes of angelics in the public square. A few of them decided the square must have increased in size in order to accommodate that many guests. After re-examining the screen, Rashawn agreed that something had changed. He held his finger on the next paragraph, wanting to wait for their discussion to end before reading on. "I wonder if the area got bigger when the palace dropped," Andrew posed. "You mean like a ripple effect?" clarified Aaron. "Yeah, like a ripple effect. Maybe when we saw the seeds from the chest going into the palace, they weren't just for the tree. Maybe they were also for the public square to grow." Andrew was now thinking out loud. "How many angelics do you think are at the palace?" asked Mia. "A whole lot," Alyssa said. "I don't know. I wonder how many angelics there are in the universe and what percentage is there with Sar?" Rachel continued on with Mia's question. "We do not know the exact number of angelics. Only Or knows that. But I do know from the story of old that about 1/3 of the angelics rebelled against Or. So if this is the rebellious group, I would guess 1/3 is present," shared Rashawn. Deep in thought back on Afar, Shatar did not turn his chair around when his assistant opened the door. "Dagon Phronesis to see you, sir," announced the Malak. Shatar whipped his chair around. "Does Abaddon know you are here?" "No, sir," answered Phronesis. "Where are Vanity and Hadi? Did they return with you?" "No, sir," replied Daga. Both Isham looked down in disappointment. "We left Vanity and Hadi in the palace with Sar while we slipped out. We thought you should see this," continued Daga as they both placed their fruit on the table. "What is this?" "It is some sort of fruit. We were hoping you could tell us," replied Phronesis. Shatar glanced up at them in surprise as he slightly cleared his throat, then looked back down at the fruit. I have never seen this before. Where did you get it?" "Sar's palace, sir," Phronesis stated. "From the tree Sar planted in his palace?" Shatar inquired. The Isham quickly looked at each other. Both were silent, for neither one wanted to retell the story. "Well, did it come from that tree?" "Sir, it did come from that tree, but Sar said it was not planted. Sar claims he created it." Daga rushed to get the words out. "Excuse me? Sar claims to have created what?" Daga's voice hinted to his confusion. "The tree, sir." "I thought we were talking about the fruit," clarified Shatar. "The fruit is from the tree Sar claims to have created. Wouldn't that make him the creator of both?" Phronesis said, making sure he was not disrespectful. "Point taken. Did you see anything else you want to report?" "Yes, sir," Daga declared. Then he and Phronesis shared their library experience and the transformation of Haughty and Vanity. Immediately following the meeting, Shatar quickly journeyed to Adam to seek counsel from his trusted comrade, Negad. The screen in the theater closed the scene of Shatar and the other two Malaks, then filled with the red glow from Adam. The children were getting another look at the spectacular monuments in Sidon, which was the stone's capital city. "I still cannot believe that Adam once looked like this," Rashan said in a whisper. Sarah glanced at Rashan and asked him, "You mean that you have not seen this before?" "No, this is my first time in the first age too." Rashan's voice rose with a hint of laughter as he spoke. "My family has been training for this event, this moment in our time when you, the chosen ones, will learn all of eternity's account." Rashan now spoke with such passion that the children were no longer looking at Adam. Each eye was focused on him. "It is the story of eternity that we seek out, as instructed by King Yehoshua of our age. My father's fathers have waited for this event, passing down their stories and speeches, never knowing who would be honored with this class and brought back to this point." Rashan's hands were sweating and his heart was beating as his emotions surged. His mind raced with expectation of seeing the monuments of Adam again as his fathers had told him. "Children, enough about me. Look at those buildings over there," he said as he pointed to the screen, which was still in motion. "There is the communication center." "What are those geometric buildings next to the communication center?" asked Aaron. "Those are all part of Adam's communication center compound," responded Rashan. There were a number of pyramids west of the communication center complex that amazed the children even more. Rashan could hear them asking one another questions and whispering about the 5-sided pyramid nestled among the other 12 pyramids. He read a simple explanation from the book that corresponded with the images within the theater and then promised that later they would understand the purpose of Adam and its monuments more clearly. Rashan's eyes welled up as he realized the text had anticipated this very moment. The words he read now brought the children back to the monuments and through the landscape. If only they still looked like this, Joshua thought. As Rashan was reading the narration, Morris drew the other children's attention toward another monument outside of Sidon. From overhead, it resembled a Palos face surrounded by a lion's mane. While they seemed to pass over the monument, Rashan read, "Keep your eyes on the face." Morris animatedly pointed to an object that appeared to be rising out of the monument's mouth. It was a distant afar. Instantly, the screen changed to Shatar walking toward the communication center. Shatar found Negad in the communication headquarters mulling over the recent assignment given to him by Or. "Do you have time for a friend?" Shatar hesitated as he knocked on the frame of the open door. "Of course I do. Come in, Shatar," Negad insisted. "What can I do for you?" he asked while promptly concealing a case. Shatar was relieved to finally have someone to talk to. He walked in and plopped himself down in the chair across from Negad. "I do not know what is going on, Negad. I do not even know where to begin. I feel as though all the stones of fire have gone mad. Well, let me rephrase that. I believe Sar has gone mad." "What do you mean? Have you seen him lately?" "No, but during my meeting with Or, I got the impression he was displeased with him." Negad paused, sensing he may have said too much. Shatar stood in haste. "What are you not telling me, Negad? Why am I being kept in the dark?" "I assure you, Shatar, you are not the only one. I do not know any more than you do concerning Sar. I told Or that we followed him and our suspicions, but he already knew. Trust him. He has it under control. Before you ask, I must tell you, I am not permitted to speak any more about my meeting with Or my assignment." Shatar grinned at the fact that his friend knew him so well. "You cannot prove I was going to ask you about that," he half-heartedly responded, which sent the two friends into laughter. "But I can tell you this. It is by far the most significant assignment I have ever been given. Everything we have been taught is about to be tested. Or has not forgotten you, Shatar. Do not lose heart. We are merely coming to the conclusion of the first age." "This is the second time I have heard that." "Well then, it must be true," Negad laughed and became a bit more serious. "Shatar, we are not meant to understand everything. Obviously, it is for our own good. That we do know." "I agree. Thank you, my friend. You have restored my confidence." The events in the table of happenings moved in waves with varying degrees of intensity. The table housed all events from the 3 ages. The present actions during the first age were highlighted and brought forward onto the table's surface, while all other events played out simultaneously deep within the table. Every era and event that did and will exist was concurrently active. The first age did not move in a linear fashion. It was not subject to linear time, or designed the table of happenings before the heavens were created. He placed all events into its depths, then fully examined them before anything was made. At present, the highlighted holographic image played out the scene of events throughout Elenthial and the cosmos. Nekemabed looked past the images dancing in the midst of the table and looked toward the coming havoc. I know we agreed to allow this to happen so the Zood could begin its course, but I did not expect it to anger me so. It angers me to see them act as if it is an ornament, added Kohengal. They cannot even see it for what it truly is. Of course not. Sar's eyes have been changed. Or's wisdom has left him, Nekemabed reminded Kohengal. They accept him as their leader, so they too will become blind to the Zood's effect. I would like to simply speak the word and end this now. Nekemabed, I know you are ready for the fullness of the Zood and the entry of the Esoavel, but all in its proper order, reassured Rahab. It is for the sake of those who will remain that I wait, Nekemabed responded. For those that remain, post Kohengal, or for the faithful that will come. Those that will come are my heart's desire, Nekemabed rephrased his statement. Soon, the Book of Names will be pulled from the Book of Tamnithiod as a reminder of those who will reflect our image. I too wait in excitement to walk with them and talk with them. But we need to tend to matters at hand. A third of our angelics are rebelling against us, and the tree of knowledge will be knocking on our door following its course. The Zood cannot exist in my presence. Therefore, I will remain in the throne room of the great temple during the provision of the fruit on afar. The Elenthial angelics will have time to partake of the fruit and return before the call is completed on the stones of fire, Rahab explained. Nekemabed, your trumpet call must be carried inside of Nagad's trumpet call for it to be successful. This process will separate the call to afar into 2 distinct sounds in the cosmos. What is Esoavel? Is that how you say it? Inquired Andrew. Rashawn smiled. Esoavel, he clarified, is a difficult concept to grasp, but as we proceed, you will all become very familiar with its function and purpose in fulfilling Or's purpose. How many prophecies are there? Asked Joshua. Rashawn felt this was a worthy question. The screen froze with Sar sitting on one of the tree's large roots deep in thought. Well, that is a difficult question to answer, he responded. The important thing at this point is to recognize that all of the prophecies point to the same message, the same outcome. They show us eternity's patterns which point to the coming king. You mean the throne is connected to the tree prophecy? Chimed Morris. Yes, and all the angelic beings have been taught these prophecies. It is part of their duty to seek out the clues that will link them together. Do you remember the outer edge? Rashawn waited to make sure all the children responded with an affirmative nod. The Abirs search out the cosmos for the new secrets that are continuously being uncovered. The Malaks also watch and then report what has been uncovered to the stones of fire. Adam holds many of the objects found within the outer edge. It is all in Or's plan and order. Oh, I get it. We're supposed to tie all the prophecies together with clues, Mia shouted. Exactly, Mia. Rashawn hoped that the other children would recognize the links as well. The children appeared satisfied. He found his place, firmly set his finger under the next sentence, and spoke the words that set the screen back in motion. On Rahab, Sar had been concentrating on his new song within the palace walls. His song brought forth visions of the northern sector. He had given the Zood complete control of his thoughts, and it was pushing him to take over the throne. He had convinced himself that he was the rightful heir. In his mind, it was the only conceivable conclusion. However, he was not willing to wait for the kingship to be given to him as prophesied. Sar began plotting to take what he felt was rightfully his. Sar was still sitting in thought when he realized something sounded different. The airwaves around the courtyard of the palace were clanging with chatter of the crowds while simultaneously devoid of music. "Why has the music stopped?" asked Sar. "And what is that buzzing outside?" "The crowds are much larger than usual, sir. According to our estimations, about 1/3 of all angelic beings are here, and the courtyard seems to be somehow holding most of them," Abaddon explained as he, Sar, and Azazel traveled down the east wing toward the balcony. "Due to the importance and size of this gathering, we have placed multi-dimensional imagery discs throughout the palace grounds and skies. The moment you take your place on the terrace, we will activate the discs. Your lifelike image will appear throughout Rahab and its sky. Not one being at this gathering will fail to see you in all of your splendor. Every angelic will feel like they are having a personal encounter with you. I also took the liberty of sharing your recent composition with the musicians so everyone can hear it. They will play it softly during your address." "Nicely done, Abaddon," praised Sar as he stopped one last time to admire himself in the large mirror on the inside balcony wall. "Azazel, once you and your men have completed your assignment, allow them to eat from the tree, but be sure you partake of the tree again before them. The crowd must be able to see my splendor on every worker in this palace," Sar commanded. "You will repeat this when the masses partake of the fruit as well." "It will be my pleasure, sir," declared Azazel. Sar closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The noise of the crowd was deafening as he stepped in front of the open terrace. "Activate the discs! Begin the music!" Abaddon's commands rang out. Without delay, the images appeared, causing an abrupt hush across the masses. Subtle yet effective luminescent lighting was added to the discs, slightly altering the representation. Sar's appearance was even more brilliant, and the soft music lulled them into a trance. His warm welcome and humble performance invited each angelic into his ruse. "Welcome," he started. Azazel left down the stairs with a new sense of authority. What an honor, he thought, for me to lead the men to Sar's gift of Zood. He rushed down the eastern corridor to find some Isham had joined his men in their assignment, which in turn sped up the process. As their project neared completion, Azazel announced he would be in the center tower area where all would have an opportunity to select their gift from the tree. As he walked around inspecting their progress, he noticed some of the branches in the eastern wing drooping close to the floor. "What has happened here?" Azazel asked one of his men. "Sir, the branches are weighted down by the production of the fruit. What do you suggest we do?" "We must find a way to hold them up. This path must be clear for Sar's guests." The moment Azazel spoke this, numerous vines shot off the branches toward the ceiling. Some wrapped around the banisters of the upstairs balconies, and others stuck into the high walls like suspension cables for a bridge. As the vines tightened their grip, the branches were raised, clearing the way to walk on the platform. The Zood within the tree was strengthening and taking control of the situation. Azazel stood in silence as he watched the limbs rise. "Did I do that? Let me test it." He headed to the northern corridor to check for more weighted down limbs. Upon arrival, he found the same problem. Inishai approached him. "Sir, we must find a way to support the limbs." Immediately, vines shot toward the ceiling, repeating the earlier process. "Pass the word on how to clear the walkways. Speak to the Tree of Knowledge. It will respond," commanded Azazel. "I want each ramp ready for the partakers to set up for optimal reaping." As Azazel waited for the preparation to be completed, he realized a key element for Sar had been overlooked: his platform. He quickly recruited several Isham and shared his idea with them. They immediately went to work on the project. It was not long until everyone was finished with their assignments and had gathered around Azazel in the center tower. "As you all know," Azazel started, "we have prepared this area as Sar commanded. You have done a tremendous job. Sar has requested that I introduce you to the fruit before the eastern doors are opened." He traveled up a nearby ramp toward one of many platforms. When he reached the top, he dramatically turned to face his audience. Azazel spotted the exact piece of fruit he wanted. The small amount of Zood on his shoulder was about to explode. When he bit into the fruit, an intoxicating odor drenched the room, and a flash of light shot out of him. He paled, then instantly he stood in Sar's image, covered in what appeared to be reflective mirrors The gleam of his new form encouraged the others to take from the tree. Azazel lifted his arms to showcase the fruit. Behold, it is now time that you partake. After you have partaken of Sar's gift, each of you must go to your given posts. One by one they ate. Each one's internal light paled as they took on Sar's new covering. Sar's Zood and his image had now become their own. The aroma intensified and drifted outside. The mass that packed the courtyard gave Sar its attention while he continued his address. I am extremely honored to stand before you. I have much to share with you, my friends. I know you all have many questions and concerns about the unfolding events. I am here to assure you there is no need for alarm. I, along with my staff, have everything under control. Sar paused a moment as if to reflect, hoping no one would notice that he was leaving out Or's name. In fact, I am truly humbled to be the bearer of such magnificent news. We are all aware of the foretold prophecy concerning the eternal tree. He started, but was forced to wait for the sudden roar of the crowd to quiet. Yes, I too share in your excitement. As it is written, we shall all eat of the eternal tree, and when we do, we will forever be preserved in our glorious condition. The roar of the crowd intensified again. Sar was forced to continue in a louder voice. As you have heard and now can see, many revolutionary changes have occurred here on Rahab. Some have expressed apprehension about the grounding of the palace, but I assure you that will change once you learn the reason. What if I told you it is possible to receive additional power? As you all know, I am the Prince of the Cherubim. With this great honor comes great knowledge. My knowledge has matured to completeness and has given birth to a tangible gift to pass on to you, explained Sar. For the first time since Sar stepped onto the palace, the crowd fell completely silent. Stunned by such a brazen declaration, they looked around at one another, searching for some kind of clarity, and some of the angelics chose not to listen and departed. Sar needed to win back the cheers of the crowd. He was going to have to use Or's name, even though he previously decided not to. Do not hesitate. Or is aware of everything taking place here. He only desires the best for you. For all of us. Sar's proclamation caused the crowd to cheer again. Some of you may have noticed the remarkable change to my outward appearance. The splendor you see is what I have created with my wisdom. I now wear it. I have named it Zood. You can now gain knowledge from what I have created. My Zood is permanent, and inside my palace lays a wealth of it for your taking. A sweet aroma came over the remaining crowd. Sar instantly recognized the aroma, as was what first drew him to the spectacular tree. Within my palace stands an enormous tree. It is the tree's presence that has grounded the palace. I will admit that at first I was quite alarmed, but now I understand that the tree's roots had to travel deep into the center of Rahab to sustain its production of my gift to you. The tree contains beautiful fruit. My gift is stored within the fruit. Each piece is laced with my Zood. For each one who desires of my gift, I invite you to come and partake. Let me remind you the call to the assembly for the eternal tree is at hand. It is rumored that the sacred orchard on Afar, where the eternal tree is located, has recently experienced some strange activity. The ground has shifted, which I believe is a sure sign that the prophecy will soon be fulfilled. With that statement, a few more angelics left Rahab. My gift of additional power and beauty from the Zood is available to you only until the final call. My staff has worked very hard preparing the palace for you. In moments, we will be opening the doors. My staff will direct you as you enter. Again, it is truly an honor for me to share this with you. Sar finished and stepped back inside.